All right, let's talk about large language models. We're all using them, right? And for good reason. They're incredibly powerful. But what if that reliance, that constant use, comes with a hidden cost? A cost to our own minds. Today we're diving into this idea of brain rot and what it could mean for how we work, think, and solve problems.
So let's just put a name on it right away. The term for this phenomenon is brain rot series 2. And look, this isn't about using AI. It's about what happens when we let AI start using us. It's that subtle shift where we stop just delegating simple tasks and start outsourcing the entire thinking process. When that happens, our own ability to reason, to see context, well, those muscles just start to atrophy.
You know, this whole thing isn't entirely new. We've actually been here before. Think about Wave 1, social media. The infinite scroll was designed to outsource our attention, to keep us scrolling instead of focusing. But this new wave, Wave 2 with LLMs, it's different. It's potentially much more serious because now we're talking about outsourcing the very core of our problem-solving skills. And that is the absolute crux of the issue. These tools are fantastic. No one's denying that. The real danger is in how we use them. It's that moment we stop using an LLM to execute a plan we've already come up with, and instead we just hand over the whole problem. We ask it to do the thinking for us. That's the trap.
So why do we fall into this trap? Well, it mostly comes down to a huge misunderstanding. We interact with these models and it feels like we're talking to a conscious thinking partner. But the reality is, under the hood, they are unbelievably sophisticated prediction machines. They don't understand the context the way a human does. They just calculate the most probable next word or phrase. And that gap between what we think they are and what they actually are is exactly where the risk of brain rot sneaks in.
In this quote, it just hits the nail on the head. This is the real-world consequence. I'm sure many of us have felt this. You ask for a very specific piece of the puzzle, and bam, the LLM gives you a perfect, correct answer. But because you've offloaded the thinking, you completely lose sight of the bigger picture. You miss the forest for the trees. You get the one tiny answer right, but you might be getting the whole project wrong.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem. It's this creeping dependency that, as one person put it, can make us dumb day by day. So what do we do about it? How do we use these incredible tools without letting our own skills fade away? Well, the good news is there's a really clear, straightforward solution. And the solution is actually beautifully simple. We just need to be really deliberate about redefining the roles in this partnership. It comes down to this. The human's job is to think, the LMM's job is to do. That's it. Humans think, LMMs do.
Let's break that down a bit more. What does that division of labor look like? The human, that's you. You own the strategy. You're the one who understands the real-world context, who comes up with the logic, who directs the entire operation. The LLM? Think of it as the world's most capable and tireless intern. It takes your brilliant directions and just executes. It writes the code, handles the grunt work, the dirty part.
So here's what that looks like in practice, a super simple method. Step 1, you think. You figure out the core logic yourself. Okay, I need to compare these two values. Step 2, you direct. You give the LLM a clear command with context. Based on that logic, if the condition passes, I need you to call this specific API. And finally, step 3, you let the LLM do the work. It takes your logic and your direction and writes out the code. See? You're still in complete control of the thinking.
This right here is the whole game. This is how you use these tools safely and, frankly, much more effectively. You hold on to your logic. You protect your own thinking process. You only delegate the execution. When you work this way, you don't just avoid brain rot, you actually boost your productivity while keeping your own mind razor sharp.
So, all this leaves us with one final crucial question to ask ourselves. The next time you open up that chat window, just pause for a second and think. In this partnership with AI, are you the thinker, the one who's actually directing the work, or are you just becoming the prompt?